Since I get on black Democrats a lot, and justifiably so, it's only right that I share my thoughts about black Republicans. But this is not so much of a gripe as it is a history lesson and why you need to understand that you're being played as well. How many of you seen this picture or shared this picture? The birthplace of the Republican Party. Because this is the picture a lot of black Republicans use in order to justify why they're not Democrats or why so-called black people shouldn't be voting for Democrats. So in this video, I'm going to give you a history lesson. Warning, I will be reading a lot in this video. But if you stick to the end, you'll definitely understand why. Now, the common narrative is that Abraham Lincoln was unalive because he freed the slaves. Now, that's true. However, it's not the full truth. Buckle up because here's where it gets deep. Now, in order to come to the full truth about Abraham Lincoln's unaliving, you got to know who this man is. This is Charles Cheniquet, who was an ex-Catholic priest. Since we're talking about ex-Catholic priests, we have to talk about the Jesuits. Trust me, all this will make sense. I'm just laying the foundation for this video. Jesuit, member of the Society of Jesus, a Roman Catholic order of religious men founded by St. Ignatius of Loyola, noted for its educational, missionary, and charitable work. Sounds clean and pristine. Now, since I got to read a lot in this video, I won't give every single detail, but I'm going to give enough to where you understand the full picture. First, I'm going to read to you from an 1893 newspaper called The American, because in reading this, we're going to be unpacking the Jesuit connection. The Jesuits uphold the doctrine of temporal power of the Pope, who is to rule princes and presidents and nations, which is also known as papal supremacy. They teach the doctrine that the ends justify the means. They have the right to steal and lie. They have the right to become midnight assassins or to do anything however vile or debasing in order that they may advance the interests of the society to which they belong. Let us note some of the events which history connects to Jesuits. There is the assassination of the noble patriot William the Silent, of Henry IV, because of his known tendencies towards Protestantism. The gunpowder plot in England and the massacre of St. Bartholomew in France can be traced to the Jesuits. Now let us note that the Jesuits have been expelled from many European countries. They were banished from Portugal in 1759 and from Spain soon after, which action was ratified in 1868. They have been expelled from Naples, Switzerland, Prussia, Russia, and all European countries except Belgium. Clement XIV suppressed them, and the act of suppression was confirmed by Pius VI. The death of Clement was predicted by a leading Jesuit, and he died within a year. And it has always been believed that he died from poison, which was administered because of his suppression of the order. Banished from Europe, the Jesuits find their paradise in America, which is undisputable today with all the Catholic churches, all the Catholic schools, the holidays, etc. Our government is from the people who Father Sherman speaks of as the common people. The Declaration of Independence says, governments derive their just powers from the consent of the governed. The Constitution of the United States says, we the people do ordain and establish this Constitution. This is a government of the people, for the people, and by the people. And see how this applies to over here. Check this. Now, let us see what Jesuitism has to say in regards to the right of government to derive its existence from the people. In a recent papal encyclical, we read Article 39, the people are not the source of civil power. We read again, all human power is of evil and must, therefore, be standing under the Pope. This is from the canonical law of the Catholic Church. The Pope has the right to govern countries and nations which are non-Catholic to Catholic regents who can reduce them to slavery. So keep that in mind that some of the Catholic Church in their history has always been in favor of slavery. Skipping further in that article, it says, the canon law, the undisputed fundamental code of Romanism, is utterly incompatible with the Constitution and laws of our republic, as will be seen from the following leading provisions gleaned therefrom by Dr. G.F. von Schult, professor of canonical law at Prague. And for time purposes, I'm only going to read the highlighted portion. The church has the right to practice the unconditional censure of books, which is called Index Prohibitorum. In the Roman Catholic Church, a catalog of books, the reading of which is unreservedly prohibited. Next, the Pope has the right to annul state laws, treaties, constitution, etc., to absolve from obedience thereto as soon as they seem detrimental to the rights of the church or those of the clergy. The Pope has the right to absolve from oaths and obedience to the persons and the laws of the princes whom he excommunicates. So if the Pope excommunicates someone, you no longer have any allegiance or oath to them. Keep that part in mind. The execution of papal commands for the persecution of heretics causes remission of one's sins. He who unalives one that is excommunicated is no murderer in a legal sense. So he's saying he has the authority to absolve you from your sin of unaliving someone. The United States has experienced the touch of the subtle hand in her own labor troubles. To identify Romanism with socialism to the casual reader of European politics may seem paradoxical. And remember, this was in 1893, but you can apply that to today. It is not so when one reflects that although the socialist as an individual is an agnostic, he detests Protestantism as heartily as he hates Romanism. He is nearer to Rome than he is to Protestant by reason of his enmity to Protestantism. And I hate saying this word. When the Jesuit comes to him without the cross or scapular and offers his assistance to defeat imperialism of one kind, the socialist does not, as a rule, look beyond immediate victory and cares not whether his ally wears the red cap or a black cowl so that socialism gains the point. 90% of the socialist leaders are rabid anti-Protestants, that is, either Romanists professedly or unprofessedly. Side note, Joe Biden said this, which he's a Catholic by the way, you need not be a Jew to be a Zionist. I'm going to let you put the pieces together on that one. Now, moving on to another article titled Rome the Assassin. Let's read what it has to say. A partial list of her most notable victims. The New York World says the French Catholic do not consider the murder of a heretic a very reprehensible act. The charge has often been made that when Rome finds that she cannot use a person in authority, she has a way of disposing of them. In testimony of this, we submit the following from the Boston Citizen. The following were assassinated by Romanists. Gustavus Vasa, King of Sweden, assassinated by Jesuits 1560. William the Silent, assassinated by the Jesuit Gerard 1584. Henry III of France, assassinated by Clement, a priest, 1589. Henry IV of France, assassinated by whatever his name is, a Jesuit, 1610. Spoiler alert, Abraham Lincoln, shot by Booth, a Roman Catholic, 1865, and so on and so forth. Now, since I spoiled that about Abraham Lincoln, let's get back to him. Book reference, The Suppressed Truth About the Assassination of Abraham Lincoln. Go get this book. Destruction of this republic plotted by European monarchists. The death of President Lincoln was the culmination of but one step in the attempt to carry out the secret Treaty of Verona, October 1822, a pact entered into by the high contracted parties of the former Congress of Vienna, Austria, which had held its secret sessions covering the whole year of 1814 to 1815. The Congress of Vienna was a black conspiracy against popular governments, aka Republican forms of government, at which the high contracting parties announced at its close that they formed a holy alliance. This was a cloak under which they masked to deceive the people under religion, which gives more understanding to this recent story. LA Catholic Church payouts for clergy abuse top $1.5 billion with new record settlement. So let's read Article 1 of the Secret Treaty of Verona. The high contracted powers being convinced that the system of representative government is equally incompatible with the monarchical principles as a maxim of sovereignty of the people with the divine right engage mutually in the most solemn manner to use all their efforts to put an end to the system of representative governments. In Article 3, convinced that the principles of religion contribute most powerfully to keep nations in the state of passive obedience which they owe to their princes, aka rulers. Pay attention to this part, that President Lincoln fully realized that it was not a Protestant South with which he was contending. It is clearly evident from his own words on the subject in his conversation with the Reverend Charles Chiniquy, ex-Catholic priest of Kankakee, Illinois, who called once each year during his administration at the White House to warn the president of his danger of assassination by these enemies of popular government and their agents, the Jesuits, through their Leopoldines. Here's what he said. The common people hear and see the big noisy wheels of the Southern Confederacy cars, and they call him Jeff Davis, Lee, Thompson, Beauregard, Sims, or others. They honestly think that they are the motive power, the first cause of our troubles, but it is a mistake. The true motive power is the secret behind the thick walls of the Vatican, the colleges and schools of the Jesuits, the convents of the nuns, the confessional boxes of Rome. There is a fact which is too much ignored by the American people and with which I am acquainted only since I became president. It is that the best and leading families of the South have received their education in great part, if not all, from the Jesuits and the nuns, hence the degrading principle of slavery. Now, since I only got a minute left, I got to speed this up. Abraham Lincoln only freed so-called slaves because he wanted to save the Union. Here's what he said. My paramount object in this struggle is to save the Union, and is not either to save or to destroy slavery. If I could save the Union without freeing any slave, I would do it. And if I could save it by freeing all the slaves, I would do it. And if I could save it by freeing some and leaving others alone, I will also do that. What I do about slavery and the colored race, I do because I believe it helps to save this Union. Now, fast forward to 1867, 1868. Congress passed the Reconstruction Act, which forced the southern states, in order to get representation back into the House and Senate, to enact the 14th Amendment. The 14th Amendment was a Trojan horse for centralization, socialism, and the overthrow of the Republic, which ultimately played into the hands of the Jesuits in their quest to overthrow Republican forms of government. So whether you're a Republican or a Democrat, the whole foundation is wrong. The Republic for which it stands was overthrown. So while you're fighting each other, you're not even seeing or dealing with the real issue. I'll probably make a video with more detail, but share this out. Peace.